Hello and welcome to Canopy, the show where I attempt to make just about everything from the ground up. I am now in week 3 of the build for Don't Wake the Dragon. If you are just tuning in, I am building a dragon-shaped she shed on wheels, and I will link the previous videos in the description so you can go back and take a look at those. Alright y'all, so as I was editing week 3, I realized because I had about 6 or 7 full days, there was a lot of footage and a lot of ground to cover. So I'm going to break this up into 2 parts. This video is going to be part 2 of week 3. Before I go jumping into things, I got a little bit of house cleaning. It is Monday morning. This is still week 3's vlog because I started the vlog on Saturday, and I'm going to try and keep Saturday, Sunday, and either Monday or Wednesday as the 3 vlog days. I spent last night finishing up all of the triangle parts, or I should say the geometric shape parts that need to get cut out, and I have created my chart. I have the number of the connection in this row, so that seems to be, and here comes the street sweeper. Yeah. I really thought they went by already. Okay. The first line is the number of the connection. The second line is the number I measured physically on the piece. The reason why I'm recording this is if there is an error somewhere, I needed to make sure that because this line would fall on 2 pieces, I have somewhere to check it up against. And then I did the multiplier by 4 because I'm scaling up. That is this column. This column is the placement of the piece. Which numbered piece is that line connection? Maybe tonight, if I feel like it, I might do this where I put this in numerical order so I can have a cross check. It would have been smart if I had done this on a spreadsheet because then I could just print out both things, but wouldn't give me something to do while I was sitting on the couch. Anyway, the main thing that has been going through my head, especially now as I began assembling a couple panels, is the finish treatment. In my head, I originally wanted, I always see this as a black dragon, but a black dragon that had some, scalies coming through, some kind of texture on its surface that would have that iridescent mica green, that green from the mica coming through, the same with the floor. I originally thought, okay, I'm gonna take an 1/8 inch sheet of plywood, paint it black, somehow get it adhered to the surface of exterior, carve through it, and then backfill with that green. Number 1, that's a lot of wood. Number 2, that's me recutting all the shapes all over again and hoping I get them precise. Number 3, that's trying to figure out a way to secure the thing to get a good glue up. Number 4, what kind of paint, because I've been hearing a different consensus about paint and epoxy, and here in California you really cannot buy oil-based paint anymore. Very rare, and the ones that they do sell are very small cans and they're ridiculously expensive because of the VOCs. I didn't want to get into mixing stains, so where does that leave me? I went back to who I am, because this is me, right? And you know me, and I love fabric. So since I was going to already fabric the inside to cover those over, I thought, why can't I just go and find an awesome fabric that already has texture that'll allow me to do that process and still gain, this scaly looking thing. So I went to Joann's, went to go visit my girlfriend yesterday and picked up some really great fabric. I have this Witching Hour. All of this fabric is called Witching Hour line. This one has lacy holes. I have that one, and then there's this other Witching Hour fabric that I'm testing, which is more of a meshy thing. And I also bought some plain. I'm gonna run some tests. What I want to do is have the green of the mica come through this fabric. I need to do this in tests though. I need to figure out how this process is going to work. Do I need it backed? Which is why I picked up some black, because the surface, I want it darker, and some of the areas on this flooring, you can kind of still see the wood coming through because the epoxy is transparent. I'm going to be cutting up some small sample pieces of wood, testing these different materials, so I need to make a bunch of samples. The reason why this is important now is because I don't want to be doing this when I have this giant structure and me up on a ladder trying to do all of this craziness. I'm thinking that it might be better to begin this process when I have it in pieces as best I can. Once I have it together, do the final finessing. So I made a list, surprise, surprise, and I numbered my sample pieces with the number that I will be following with the corresponding list. And I have 2 sets of stacks. This stack I need to apply just the plain black sheet on with clear epoxy first. This other stack, I have a couple different things going on. Some of them need to have the mica epoxy mix put on them. Some of them need to have the mica epoxy mix be applied with the whole or mesh fabric. These are waiting for a mix of mica and epoxy. This one is going to be straight up application first. So I am going to start with those. I am going to cut all of the pieces of this black fabric to what I need for size so that it's ready to go before I throw on gloves and then start the epoxy mixing process. I'm going to get all this stuff out of the way though so that I don't accidentally get it hit with things as I do that. Alright, set aside those samples. There's the first round of samples. They're going to probably need 2 or 3 more goes as I build up layers and deal with surface treatment. I'm moving on to mapping out my pieces. Let's see, I think today is supposed to be a little bit cooler, but it is noon right now and I only have 2 hours of working time because I have a gym thing happening at 3:30 for me today, and then I also have a buddy of mine coming over to pick up some things and he's due to come around 2:30. So I don't think I'm going to do any cutting. What I'm going to do is map out things and see what I have, and then this way I can also get a gauge as to if I need to purchase more plywood. I bought 6 sheets, and when I went back to get the sheets for the bottom, I was also going to pick up some more of this 1/4 inch ply and they were out of stock. Alright, so continuing on with the measuring. So I popped out here late last night because I could not wait to finish the last round of finishes on my test samples. I really wanted to get the fabric order in case there was a problem and I had time to make a second plan if that was going to be an issue. And I already kind of had one after the first round of samples that I was really leaning towards, and I think I've kind of narrowed it down and I have ordered my supplies. I was trying to get a good picture of this. Honestly, the pictures don't do this finish justice. I also am going to post these on Instagram so you can check out what my samples look like up close and personal. If you're not following me on Instagram, it is Clay to Canopy on Instagram. Please go check it out. I tend to post little snippets of teasers a lot faster up on Instagram than it is here because your videos are coming to you about a month behind when they actually are getting filmed, and a lot of times in real time, especially things like which pattern do you like the best. If I'm trying to struggling and I kind of want to get some ideas of what people think, I might post that up on Instagram earlier, and then, by the time you see this footage, I'll have already had made that decision. So check me out over there. Happy with this, and I think I've found a solution, and I have ordered some fabrics. Finished measuring out 1 full panel. I am working on the second one, and this is the body. I've started with the largest pieces first and been moving along that way. Honestly, I've gotten quite a bit of pieces out of those 2 sheets. I think that I'm going to be in a good place with the amount of sheets that it's going to take. I'm going to continue that today. I don't think I'm going to be doing any cutting. We're in the 90s again. I popped over to Disneyland for breakfast this morning, so it's about 12:30, 1 o'clock now. I'm only going to do the best I can out here, just continuing on with my measurements, and then I will call it for the day. Hopefully, I'll be able to at least get everything measured so that tomorrow I can begin cutting. And I get to it. Alrighty, Today is Wednesday, August 10th, and I have finished tracing out all of my patterns for the body. And that has taken up 3.5 sheets of the 1/4-inch plywood. I'd say this is more than half, about 2/3. But the head is a much smaller in size compared to the rest of the body. So I think that I probably will be able to get, I have 2 more remaining sheets of the 1/4-inch. Fortunately, they did get more in stock at my local Home Depot of the 1/4-inch if I need it. If I can keep to the 6 sheets, then I will have saved quite a bit of weight and quite a bit of material. I did make a decision on the tiles, the test tiles for the dragon skin. I'm going with the tile where I placed the black fabric first, then the colored mica pigment, and then the holy looking black lace fabric on top. So that means that I needed to order bolts of fabric. I have been planning for 10 sheets of plywood in square footage for the fabric, just because fabric is one of those things where it still comes from a dye lot. I want it all to come at the same time. I don't want to end up running out of one fabric, having to go back and try and order something and it possibly coming from a distant dye lot. Now, the lace fabric only comes 6 yards to a bolt, so I'm already looking at 4 different bolts for what I needed. There's chances of that not being of the same dye lot, but still at least it was manufactured in the closeness together, so I feel a little bit better about that. In addition to the fabric being a great choice of me having to avoid painting and dealing with curing issues, it also is going to act as an extra layer of stability that I will be glassing over the whole outside and re-glassing the joints, and the joints will get a strip of glass in between each of the connection, and then the entire piece will get re-glassed. So just on the inside and on the outside, and that'll be clear, and then the color is going to come in when I add that fabric. But for the plain black fabric, because the entire thing's getting coated in the mica after that, I can also use that fabric as an extra layer of creating that connection and bond. So I'll be overlapping sections of the black fabric over where my 2 panels meet. Today I'm going to go ahead and do as much of the cutting, and hopefully we'll get to cutting down all of these parts. Also feel like the new look here on this channel, you get like 5 seconds of me with my hair down, and the rest is like hair up, mask on, goggles on. You don't even know what I look like because I have to be suited up for the sake of safety. But yeah, it's just how it rolls. It is what it is. Cut down all my pieces. Now the next thing I want to do is start matching up my numbers to make sure that I'm at least close. So 9 to 9, 20 to 20, just so I can check the lines, and then I will hit the edges with the sander. I think the best thing to do is to put them in groupings of numbers that are like, above 20, below 20. I've checked all the pieces, and about 4 or 5 needed to be adjusted, having a little bit taken off. They were either off by 1/4 of an inch or bang on. It was like one or the other. So I've adjusted those. There's going to be a little bit of weird funky angles here and there. Any kind of gapping, I'm just going to take scraps and whack them in there, patch them up that way. Because the fiberglass is going to be there and acting as such a strong bond, I don't think it's going to matter. It's going to be overlaid multiple times between the fabric and the fiberglass. Having to, cut small wedges and pop them in here and there, it doesn't freak me out. So I'm not going to go too crazy trying to get the matching up perfect. I need to sand up my edges before I start joining them together. I don't know, part of me feels like I need to trace these, and part of me feels like that might also just be a waste of time. I don't know. Maybe if I held up the fabric against the square, I could chalk line and then cut. I think it's probably the better way to go. Might even be better to place it on, cut it clean once the fiberglass is dried beforehand, because the fabric's going to have stretching. Yeah, alright, I'm going to forgo making templates because I think that just might be a waste of time. There's going to be a lot of overlapping, and I think I'll address that when I get to it. I might totally regret this, and I might be, shooting myself in the foot because it's 90-something degrees, and I just don't want to have another task of doing that. I want to get on with it. For now, I'm just going to skip it and hope that I'm not going to regret that later. Alright, on to sanding. I should probably mask up. All right, as usual, I am a mess. Finish the sand here. I'm gonna call it for today, and I think tomorrow one of the babies has an appointment. I only have a little bit of time, I think, tomorrow to work out here. I'm not sure what I plan on doing tomorrow yet. I am like not feeling like doing much of anything today. I think the heat is finally getting to me, or it's like studio fatigue because I've been just going for days. I think I finally made a decision about how I want to proceed with this assembly going forward. When I started lining up the pieces onto the base, I realized that I made miscalculations when I mapped out the base, and I was trying to save on plywood while installing, and I probably should have just left the full sheets there, assembled the top dragon, and then traced out the base later and cut out the around it, but I didn't do that. I cut out the shape, trying to give myself somewhere for the pieces to land, and when I did that, I made miscalculations and the base had to be adjusted. So when I went to go take these pieces that I had marked out for where they hit the base, I had to make adjustments, particularly in the paw. These pieces are supposed to be straight, and on the base, I ended up having to taper them. While tapering them, kind of knocked out an angle, and so there's going to be some gapping in some areas. I was expecting gapping because I didn't mark out all the pieces. There were some pieces that on the model I had to make up, and I was gonna just assemble the bits and take some measurements off the void, cut a new piece and pop it in. For today, I'm gonna drill holes in these for the stitching, and after having tried to put together those first 4 panels, I now know that I cannot get anything stiff without those brackets. The zip ties, they do help stabilize, but not enough for me to not have the thing flopping all over the place. For today, I'm just gonna drill my holes and get that task done, and then I'm gonna call it. And of course, I'm working backwards. I gotta go back to reorganizing piles so that I can find the numbers. I honestly think that it worked better for me to do the pattern numbers rather than trying to put them in piles of the match numbers for the seam line. So I'm gonna just do 3 piles, separating into batches, and then using the list because that worked really well. Awake. I don't know if I should mark all the dots first and then drill. No, I think I'm gonna do them both at the same time because I want to get them drilled and off to another pile so I don't have them all here. Or do I want to do that? Maybe I've already separated them and I should leave them in a pile. Anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, and most of 5 is already over there. I think 5 I have here too. So 5 is on 28A and 27E. I will eventually wake up enough to do this task, and it probably will be after I'm done with the task. Yeah, just how it rolls around here. Peanut butter. What you doing, P? Hello, beautiful girl. Oh. Moving on to number 6. And as you can see, I'm in for a very slow and tedious day. I am gonna go off camera, get this job done, and if anything interesting should arise, I'll jump back on. Otherwise, I will greet you at the end of the day when all of these holes are done. Alright, y'all, I hope you enjoyed week 3 of the build. Please like, share, and subscribe if you have not done so already. Stick around to watch this project all unfold, and remember, don't wake the dragon.